Danny, on the Roundtable Talk, we have featured a host of high-profile individuals such as cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries, directors, and a host of other high-profile guests. As we proceed with the Roundtable Talk, we would like to announce that it is now going mainstream. Yes, you heard me right. Going forward, the Roundtable Talk will be broadcast on Millennium TV, Channel 95 on the Topstar decoders, on YouTube, and as always on Smart Eagle's Facebook page. Join me every Thursday at 15:30 hours as I bring to you more and more exciting guests for more information, entertainment, and education. I'm Nakiwe Simpungwe, your host. He is president and council chairperson of the Zambia Institute of Purchasing and Supply and the board chairperson of Zesco. He is also a member of the Public Investment Board under National Development Planning. Additionally, he is senior lecturer and external examiner at the Copperbelt University and the University of Lusaka in supply chain courses and at degree and master's degree levels. His name is Mr. Mwelwa Darius Chibwe, and he is gracing the Roundtable Discussion Tuesdays edition. Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nakiwe. Thank you so much.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm fine. Just waiting to talk to you.
Great stuff. We are really happy that we could get you, to discussion of very, very serious issues, especially on Zesco. Very excited to have a discussion on Zesco because this is serious issues of national interest. So, I always begin by asking my guests to just give us a brief background about themselves before they start.
Oh, okay. I was born in Mambelima. I was at Kashiva Primary School right there in Chief Mulundu. From Kashiva Primary School, I went to Mansa Secondary School in Lapla Province. Those days were very extremely academic. I actually was the best student in Mapula, and I went to Hillcrest. That's where I completed my grade 12. And then I worked in many organizations after that. I worked for, the mines, in charge of procurement. I worked for Lafarge, in charge of procurement as well, for the 3 countries. I also worked for Zesco at some point. I also worked for what we call now KCM, the new elaboration, and also did a number of qualifications in Europe. I think I've got three masters and a PhD candidate.
Amazing. Now I feel
I'm an engineer by
training. I feel
training.
totally small seated next to you. But this is what excites me about the Roundtable Talk. It's a high-profile show. A host of high-profile guests have sat on this table. And hopefully, maybe one day it can rub off on me and I can become high-profile as well. But let's, zone in on Zesco, the power utility. Zambia is a power utility company. Last year, the Energy Minister announced that load shedding would be a thing of the past by March this year. And I think I would say, from observation, that the past 6 or so months, there hasn't been load shedding. Especially in the areas that there used to be kind of some complaints, Landa, and a lot of other areas. I have noted that there hasn't been load shedding. Is this, the realization of the minister's pronouncements that load shedding will be?
Thanks, Nakiwe. First, I must mention that I've been a board member, I think, the last 5 to 6 years. And, last December I was appointed the board chair for Zesco. But I must mention to you that we have a Vision 2030 and the 7th National Development Plan of this nation. And the role of Zesco in there, should obviously make sure that, this country begins to develop. And we achieve our 2030 vision that this economy is having. Because Zesco is very important. With great power for expansion, So we very, very, very important in the development of a nation and ensuring that we actually make more industries, make sure that everything that is happening in the mining activity is actually quite well. So yes, the minister did announce that, but I know, if you know that there is no load shedding at the moment, because God sometimes can come through. God blessed us. I mean, we have a lot of water. So all our industries, like I mentioned earlier on, are actually running. The demand that we have in the country, like when all industries, all the mines are running and every person is doing, we have about 2,800 megawatts that is required, you see. But the capacity that we have in this country to run all the industries running well, we're actually about 3,500. So we have a lot of capacity, but sometimes we have a water problem. But this year we are blessed, and we continue to run, and there is no absolute problem that we have at the moment. That we are waiting for Kafiwa Gorge Lower, that is going to add in 750 megawatts, which is just going to be excess.
Great stuff. So what exactly is the national power demand?
The national power demand at a very high demand is 2,300 megawatts. Okay, that is what we need. I mean, if all the plants are running, for argument's sake. But the capacity that we have at the moment, it's about 2,800 megawatts. Okay, that is what we have. I mean, if all the power plants are running and all activities are running, we can reach that much. But the demand is only 2,300. That is if there is at very high demand, And at the moment, we are able to meet all that demand, and we are able to meet whoever is looking for power. So the minister was very correct that we are able to, to switch off the load shedding as it's happening at the moment.
Now, I would like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd like to believe that the current government has put in modalities, to mechanisms, for power generation that were not there in past governments. What was the power deficit before the current government?
First, let me tell you, the last power plant that we had being connected, if you know, was actually in 1970s by the party of Dr. Kaunda, that UNIP. MMD, for their time, they didn't commission any one of them, but PF has done a lot. The current government has done a lot. I'll take you through just some minor things that maybe you want to know, for your record. The new Lunzua power station, I just mentioned them. I'll give you the details. It is this power station. I'm sure you know that. Kafiwa Gorge Lower that we are working on, we are 99% done.
Okay.
And we'll start commissioning those very soon, and you're going to have excess power that is required. If that is actually done. Musonda Falls, it was from 5 to 10 megawatts done during the PF period. The Luswasi Upper Hydro Power Station also has been moved up, if you know, from about 15 to 30 megawatts, and they're all running as we speak. And so we've had a lot of improvement, even solar project. You are aware about that. The solar project have been going on very, very strongly, and I'll leave you this information. We have actually got a lot of solar coming up, and it's a very, very unique, patriotic effort that PF has actually done in a very, very long time. They even when you look at even Africa, Zambia has been one of the best, and folks actually come into Zambia to try and learn, even from Zesco, and even learning what they are doing, from the engineering aspect. So the development of power supply, by PF or current government is extremely, extremely beyond even what people expected. When you compare all the three, governments, this government has done the best.
Great stuff. Yeah. Now, there is, I think, a plan to start exporting power. Could you just tell us about that? And is that ambitious program attainable? Especially that, there's issues of, once in a while we get to have this load shedding. So if, quite all right, you've said, you have given a picture of how we have sufficient power, and as we are going along, we're going to have sufficient power. But if we start exporting, are we now not going to disadvantage ourselves? Okay.
No, you see what's happening is that if we had no problems with water, even as we speak now, we have the capacity which is bigger. Okay. I told you that the capacity right now is 2,800 megawatts. That's what we are able to get. But the maximum demand that is required is 2,300 megawatts. So as we speak, we've got enough capacity to be able to meet, whatever is required at the moment. And
even
even
right
excess.
now.
Even excess, yes, yeah. But then also, you need to plan. One of the problems that we've had actually in the power station in Zambia is that previous government didn't plan for the future. Okay. Let's imagine one maybe mining company opens up today, and their demand is bigger. What do? Putting up a power plant, generating is not an easy thing. It can't happen in a month, for argument's sake. So you begin to plan for the future. That's why we are the problem. So our board, that we have at Zesco, we're actually planning for the future, and government, we're planning for the future. So even when you bring in the 750 megawatts that you're talking about at Kafue Gorge Lower, it is actually creating a possibility of any person coming on board and you would find the power that is available. But in the meanwhile, even if you have that excess power, we export it. You see, one of the major issues that we're actually planning at the moment is to connect Angola, is to connect Tanzania, is to connect Malawi, that we should be able to get this excess power and export it, getting a lot of dollars from that and bring it in. You see, because the vision of Zesco, if you know, is to be the greatest hub connection for all the countries. Every person must be coming here, and be able to get that benefit. So we think that yes, two things. One, we're actually planning for any extra expansion. That's one issue. Second, you have access, power to be able to sell, across to many other countries around Zambia. And most of them have seen Zambia doing more investment than most of the neighboring countries. So that ability, Zesco is actually building the lines to export those powers to those countries. So it will be able to do good.
Okay, so now we go to the usual complaints here and there from certain sections of society about high tariffs and expensive units. What is Zesco doing to address this very serious issue?
High tariffs?
Yes.
Look, first let me tell you, Zambia has one of the lower tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you compare what's happening in Tanzania, you compare what's happening in Kenya, even in Zimbabwe, Zambia is one of the lowest tariffs that we have.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only challenge that we have is that we have to, do it in a process. Okay. Like what President Lungu has done is increasing those slowly, so that we don't come and just increase one day, and everything goes, we have a big problem like that. So we have a plan that we have, first of all, to do some negotiations with companies that are supplying us some power. Okay. There are companies that are actually generating more power for us, and we've got a very expensive rates in which we are buying those and be able to sell them at a cheaper price. So we are making some losses there. See? So but they're also very important by providing that particular power. So we are negotiating with them so that we can reduce that and be able to reduce, at least increase a little bit and the profits that we're actually making can come through. But we cannot wake up one morning and say, look, let's increase everything today. Otherwise, it's going to be beyond most of our people. So we have a plan for many years to be able to do that and reduce all cost of producing that, so that we can now see some profitability coming to the mines. I mean, to Zesco as a producer of this particular, power. But we also, as a country, we need to help our people, because we can imagine what will happen to industries closing.
Yeah.
So as an institution also, we are trying to help out our, folks in this country to be able to at least pay what they can and be able to improve the vision of developing this nation by 2030 and making what we can do. So that is actually what we are doing at the moment. And then also, it is very important that we begin to manage these industries, because some of them may have a problem in maybe using their meters. So we have a team that's going there to help installation of organization to be able to help them to manage their cost well, so that they are able to run the industries going on. So as an institute, it's going on quite well, and we are trying to see what we can to ensure that Zesco becomes a bit more profitable. And then also, if you know, one of the challenges that we had, which the current government has done, is to amend the Electricity Act and the ERB Act. Because in the old days, whatever you make, you sell them to Zesco. So if you have agreed on the higher rates, if you still have to sell them to Zesco. You see? So it created a lot of problems for Zesco. But now, the current parliament has revised those laws. So it means that if you go and generate your power, sell to whoever you want.
Okay.
Use our lines and sell whoever you want. You see, we don't have to buy from you. So the new law that that has come up is going to help our institution very well. Any person who wants to come and set up a generating plant, they can come in.
It sounds like competition for Zesco. It's not.
No. No, can you compete with Zesco? No, but what he does is, in the old, laws that we had, it was actually amended last year. In the old laws that we had, if you came here and you generated your power, you have to, Zesco must pick that power from you. You see, and pay you whatever you agree. And then Zesco must be looking for a customer to use that. You see what I mean? But if your rate is higher, then Zesco will make some losses. But it was in the law. But the law has changed, which we are very happy with. We actually participated in that process as well. That if somebody is generating power, you've got a solar energy somewhere, and you want to sell it at maybe 4 cents per kilo, per kilowatt hour, go ahead. And find whoever you're going to deliver. You don't have to pass through Zesco, But what you can use our lines to take your power to somebody, and you agree on what is going to be done. But at the moment that we had in the old law is that you still need to bring it to Zesco, and Zesco must take now your power and go and sell it to somebody else. You understand? And distribute them. Yeah, they can make a loss. So the new act which has come on board, which I think we thank the Parliament for doing that, is that anybody else can come. You talk to us, yes, do it. If you want to sell to us, we can buy from you. But if you want to sell to a customer, do it. Which has actually opened up the market. So it means every person, investment and power is actually coming very strong. And Zambia is going to be one of the biggest, because now they can come in and do what they need to do, and they can sell to whoever they want to sell. So for instance, if you want to go and put up a power plant near a mine, you agree with them, and you do that process. The Minister of Energy would manage it, you see. But in the old one, only Zesco did that. So we had a problem. But that has been resolved in the new act.
Great stuff. And for those that are just joining us on the roundtable talk, we are featuring this afternoon Zesco board chairperson. And this is none other than Mr. Mwelwa Darius Chibwe. So now, Mr. Chibwe, you are also president of the council council chairperson of the Zambia Institute of Purchasing and Supply, aside being Zesco board chairperson. And something very interesting happening the past couple of days. The Minister of Finance signed, the commencement order of bringing into effect statutory instrument number 26 of 2021, which brings into effect the Public Procurement Act number 8 of 2020. What does this act address? What are the benefits of such an act?
Thank you, Nakiwe. This is also very, very important. When we visited the president at State House, and he also mentioned that we go and deal with a number of issues that I raised with him, making sure they are dealt with even in the new act which is coming on. And we followed that issue, followed up with the minister, Dr. Nandu, because that particular time, the act was actually, the document was actually in Parliament. And when we read it, we didn't have a lot of issues that we were actually raising even in that document. So we followed him at Parliament, and very grateful with what he did. He actually gave it to us and stopped the process and asked us to go and revise that document. And we did that, and with his help and a lot of stakeholders around, the old document changed everything. But let me first of all explain to you just a little bit that public procurement is a very important process in the development of this country. Even the attainment of our Vision 2030 or our national development plans, procurement plays a very big role. If you look at the GDP for this country, 10 to 15% of it is public procurement. Very close to the number of them. And 30% of our GDP is actually what we call, wholesaling, like ShopRite and Game, those guys that sell 30% of that. But it's also a procurement function, we call it merchandising. So put together, 50% of our GDP is procurement, you see. So the procurement issue then is very, very critical. When the minister goes to Parliament to announce the budget, do you know when you remove the salaries in there, 70% of that is procurement.
Wow.
So the attainment of aspiration of the budget that the minister brings on board, it's a procurement function. That's why when you look around, the president talks about infrastructure development. Even in what I mentioned at Zesco, you know, the roads that we've done. Look at Lusaka, how Lusaka is happening, you know, everywhere around the country. You know, the procurement of roads, the procurement of hospitals, medicines, fertilizers, the procurement of petroleum, the procurement of everything that you can imagine. You know, whatever I've seen being developed is a procurement function. See, so that issue is very, very critical, and we are happy with the current government, their ability to change this particular act, so that we are able to move forward. You know, even in the private sector as well, even the mines, their cost of producing copper, for instance, is 80% cost of procurement. So their inability to make a profit and pay taxes is affected by procurement. You see, they actually present very wrong figures that they've made losses, but they haven't, because we need to review what procurement factors they have. It's a big problem. So I wanted just to mention to you what this new act has done. Even when the president mentions austerity measures, you know, the austerity measures that are in place, it's also a procurement function. So it's very critical to the, you know, to management of a country, including Zambia. So this new act has a number of things. I want to just mention maybe 5 of them, because if you can. So the whole issue is what you call citizen bidders. I remember Dr. Nandu bringing this issue in our discussion. Citizen bidders, like you are Zambian. But how many works have you done as a Zambian? You've seen foreign companies coming here doing the works. You know, Zambian government borrows some money from somewhere, but a lot of foreign companies come and do that money and externalize their money. It begins to affect our economy. Okay, so the new act, what you've put in there, the citizen bidder must be a local person. You see, so if you're the way described in our constitution, who is a citizen, you know, so it means all tenders are going to do the national, you know, the national bid tenders, all of them would be done by citizen bidders and not international bidders. Okay, so you need to do that process so that you are, because when you get paid, you get that money. You obviously invest it in Zambia, isn't it? You go to a farm and your multiplier effect begins to help the economy.
But sir, this whole process completely, you know, negates, you know, foreign, you know, companies coming to bid. Okay.
No. So now what happens? So you know, what we're going to do is we're going to define a certain process that will remain with locals, right? So they will participate in that particular process. But if we have a certain, maybe international tender or a bigger tender, foreign companies can participate in the tender. But the new law says they must partner with a citizen bidder. Okay. So in the old days, you know what RDA did? They did a good job. The RDA would actually, after the contract has been signed, then they bring out the 20% of that and then subcontract other folks in Zambia to do those works. But there's a bit of a problem because the subcontract was done at the end of the process. So when this guy is bidding, he's actually putting small rates that is going to subcontract. And folks are given very small rates, and they fail to do those works, and it caused problems.
The reason, because let me come in a little bit there, because there was always the issue of Zambians who have been subcontracted to do works are failing to do those works. Yeah, that was the reason.
That was the reason. The reason, because the contractor who is doing that, he knows he's going to at the end of the process. So he gives out these rates to very many Zambians who would fail, very low rates. So now what's happening in the new act is that it mentions it in the document that you submit the tender, all good rates, even for people who are going to submit those works for. Okay? So now, RDA was doing at 20%. But sometimes you want to say, what if it's 50%? You want to encourage Zambians. You maybe got people that, what if even if 90%? So the new act hasn't got the 20%. It simply says there will be, the Minister of Finance will decide whether he wants 50%, better. When he wants 80%, better. Not having a 20% all the way through. So this act is actually going to allow every contract, from the beginning when you're tendering, it must indicate there. You know, even which people are going to give. Okay, if those people are maybe domestic subcontractors, yeah, even if they are nominated, it can be done. But there are issues
of capacity.
So now, first of all, let me finish that part. So that one part is going to happen, right? So any firm that may not subcontract will still have to do a partnership relationship with a citizen bidder, and then subcontract as well. See, so what that means is that if I agree with you, there's a contract 1 billion, we open an account in Zambia, and then we sign, you know, and we invest, you know, that is going to change totally what's going to happen. So that is one major issue that we've done, and it's going to be, most countries like Botswana, they do that, Ghanaian, they do that, you see. So Zambia is going to be a very big investment to our people, so the money can remain in the country, and that's going to change this activity. The second part that you want to know is 70% of our budget is procurement, but sometimes we've got very bad prices. You see, like your phone may be 2 million kwacha, what, 2,000 kwacha, right? And that's the price of that item. I do a tender, and I give the cheapest, and the cheapest is 20 million kwacha, 20,000 kwacha. I can do that. Yeah. And in the current, law, the one that has just gone, there's no problem. In the current one that has been signed by the president, you can't do that. So there's going to be a big price benchmarking process. You see, first of all, ZPP is going to create all the prices. They're going to advertise all the prices, put them to all the buyers. This is, all the buyers, this is the price index that they're going to follow. So if a bottle of water is 20 kwacha, that's what is it. If you buy at 100 kwacha, because that's the cheapest one, actually the act takes you to prison.
Wow.
So that is not going to happen.
Because this has been the biggest problem.
One of the biggest problems that we've had. Yes, it's resolved by this. And then also, if ZPPA maybe for that particular time they didn't do that pricing, they didn't do what is called the price reasonableness analysis. Okay. So what that means is that you pick actually that particular price and go and compare. For instance, if I've got a bottle of water and you look, the cheapest tender is 150 kwacha per bottle, but I know ShopRite is 10 kwacha, I do a price reasonableness analysis. Yeah. Is it right? And then if it doesn't make sense, I shouldn't award it. Yeah. I actually like to ZPP and we cancel that particular. You can imagine if that was taken back, from would have had a better system happening. Yeah. Then also, there's a very important one that is going to put you even in a very nice money making, you young lady. Okay. It's called the preference and reservation schemes. Oh, okay. You know what that means? Oh. Is that if I've got Zambians, maybe ladies, whom I want to, because the current government wants to help every category. Yeah. So the ladies are the only tenderers. So each organization in Zambia now is going to carry out an indication. These works will only be for ladies. Okay. These works will only be for young people. These works will be maybe for the lame people. Oh. These works are going to be any categories, and so that you can help them. For instance, if you are going to, we're going to ZNBC there. You see those chaps that are carpenter guys around the country. Those guys can do a table and take it to these guys who are selling them in ShopRite maybe 50 times more. Yeah. You see. But if you did a tender for the schools and say all the desks are going to come from Zambian carpenters, instead of buying them from China and distributing to all schools, that's what they're going to do. Yeah. And that requirement now is a mandatory. It's mandatory. Everyone who's going to plan for procurement must put those activities in there. And then one very important one, one very important one that I must mention before I stop is the issue of fronting. Okay. You give a contract to so many RDA folks. They look at the rates, they don't like it, they just go to a Chinese firm and sell it. And tell the guys, don't just pay me something. That's my contract. They've done a lot of that. But that creates a lot of problems. Yeah. So this new act creates a problem. If you do that as a contractor, you front your job. First of all, your company gets expelled, and the one who has received gets expelled. Because you don't have that. The people must continue to work together because so you become better and be able to do more works for Zambia. The other one is very important one is local content. This one I want to explain to you. The local content, means let's imagine a Chinese firm comes to Zambia and it's maybe it's building. For argument's sake, maybe they're building hospitals, and then they indicate in their process of execution that they'll buy cement. They'll buy cement from China. They will import electrical equipment from China. They also import steel, So that is now, if your tender is like that, it will be cancelled. So what is happening now in the new Procurement Act is that they must show the local content, including your personnel. Why should I employ 50? Swanans, or for argument's sake, if my company is from Botswana, I must employ Zambians. Yeah. So why should I? Because those materials, if you buy, say, for instance, from Dangote or Lafarge, your cement, are you not improving Lafarge? Yeah. Are you not making it better? Is it going to increase the economy of the country? So that's what I'm going to do. So these tenders, every person who is tendering must indicate where they're going to get it, and to be in the document of the bidding document, and to be able to see it. So if there's a person who's saying you're going to import everything else, you cancel that contract. So that local content is going to just create a lot of opportunities in this country, which is very, very important. But let me end with the last one that you want to know as well. We quite contract administration. One of the greatest problems that we've had in this country is contract administration. So the new act is actually demanding that ZPP must generate a contract administration process that takes place after the contract has been signed. See? So there are a lot of possibilities. A contract has been signed, and the contract is $10 million, and then amendments start coming up. I don't know if you noticed that. I mean, that's coming up, and that particular job that was $10 million becomes $100 million. Yeah, because in the contract, not even checked properly.
Yeah.
But this new act has, first of all, given serious provisions in there. First, every amendment is 25%. Okay. If you do an amendment beyond 25%, we cancel that one and they will retender. Because a lot of folks will tender and leave out a lot of things there. They are cheap. So when the jobs start, they start putting in amendments which are very critical. And then you end up with a bigger, amount, maybe even 10 times. But the new act has stopped that with only 25%. Beyond that, we cancel that particular contract. And the end users, if you know, the end users, the engineers that certify. There are certain times when you want, maybe a road is made, for argument's sake, and it's supposed to be this thick, that thick. And then some guy makes it that thick. The engineer goes to site and even approves it. Yeah. This new act takes the engineer to prison. Oh. Yeah. So that engineer who goes to approve that must make sure he tests properly, must make sure that what is in the contract is actually being achieved. So if a road has failed, even for the payment process, if a road has failed, there must always be payment where you retain money, which you call retention money, for any works that you do. So that if something fails, the money is there, go and pick it to do renovations or whatever is in there. So it is actually being provided for in the new contract. And that is going to manage contract administration going forward. And ZPPA themselves will even have consultants who will make sure they go around the country to just make sure that is better done. Now the last point, very important one, is the things they tell us sometimes about procurement, and thinking that there are some chaps in procurement who are doing wrong things. Than some procurement folks who are being paid for something. There's a lot of talks like that. Yes. But you see, maybe not exactly that, but what's happening now, it's this what you call electronic government procurement. The procurement system in Zambia now is going to be electronic. President Lungu, they launched this at ZPPA. We're actually the first in Africa. Yeah. Ghana came later than us, But in this new act, as we put it, mandatory. In the next 2 to 3 years, those that cannot afford, maybe they will take that period to make sure they've got computers and everything else. But those that can, particularly in Lusaka, all of them are going to go electronic system. So I'm able to see what's happening. I can have see, oh, that's my tender, oh, that's the price. Okay, all my documents are there, everything is there. So transparency comes about. Then it brings in a lot of people to participate in the tender, and it's going to increase our benefits, even our budget. So that 70% will be better. Value for money is actually contained in this particular document, and we're thinking that creating a lot of people are going to be rich in Zambia, and creating a lot of money available in this country, and also creating the value of what you're going to make in terms of understanding what value addition in the process because of this new procurement that has come on board.
Excellent, because I'll take you back to one or two issues in the procurement processes. The procurement people, there are situations where they probably connive with a bidding company, and that, is going to give them some money, and then they, tell them that you just bring 3 quotations yourself, and give different pricing on those quotations, and then they get the lowest quotation. So this act is definitely going to address such type of irregularity.
Right. The accusation that corruption is in procurement is a major talk in this country. Yes. But a little bit of a problem. Okay. Let me explain to you. The entire procurement process can be corrupt oriented. Even the execution, not necessarily a buyer. Okay. Let me give you an example. For instance, if an engineer comes to describe an item, and the specification of that item is actually only you knows that, or I describe something only for your company, okay? But my description is terribly affecting you, you see? So I put it as a description. You go a tender, only one person has given the right specification, because the specification that the end user put there was only targeting one particular firm. We need to check that, see? Because then you go and tender, all quotation come in, the engineer is going to say, but I was asking for this, only this firm has done this. Who has done that? Procurement? No. End use. See? So that's the process in there. Then, in the procurement folks, what I've mentioned, they also can do a number of wrong things. Even after that, we have now the contract administration. The engineers do variations. You know, the contract that's 10 million becomes 50 million. Variation, they can do that. They accept works that are not properly done. The engineers do that. Is that procurement? No. See, but if there's payment involved in there, they're supposed to be paid in 30 days. You come to a finance person and say, can you pay me tomorrow? You know, I'll pay you something. Yeah, haven't you heard that?
Yes.
So these folks now get paid a lot of money, you know, for paying somebody who's even did the work 1 week. The guy who did 6 months, nothing, because you must promise them to be paid. So you notice that corruption is in the chain. In the chain. So we need to have a system that looks at the entire chain. How are you going to manage this particular chain from beginning to the end? Not necessarily look at the procurement officer, you see, but the entire process from where it begins. And this is why we've been saying from the Institute that we need to have somebody responsible for this in government. You see, we know that the procurement is in the Ministry of Finance, yes, but we are looking for somebody in charge of procurement so that this process can be what? Be checked, you see. Like in finance, if you know, we've got, what we call procurement. We don't have a procurement general. We have an accountant general who manages the entire accounts. But we don't have any person in government who manages that. You don't even have a PS who manages that. You don't have a minister of affairs, that's that you know. So now you have a procurement system that has a lot of problems in that process. And we've been suggesting that at least what we can do is even the existing minister, not a minister, really PS, give somebody a responsibility even to oversee that process. And at least have, because management of, if you are managing the economy funds, you have 3 parts, you see. You have the procurement folks that actually commit this money. You have the auditor that must make sure things are okay. And you have the accountant. But if the guy has committed a wrong figure in there, these guys will have nothing to do but to pay what has been committed. So we need to look at what that chap is doing as well, so that we can actually manage the trilogy of the 3 functions of management of, of funds in the government. So we think that yes, corruption is there, I can tell you, but it's not only in procurement. It can be everywhere else. So we need somebody just to oversee the whole process to make sure things are correct.
Great stuff to our round table viewers across the globe joining us right now. We have on the round table discussion this afternoon Zesco Board Chairperson, Mr. Mwelwa Darius Chibwe. Now, Mr. Chibwe, you are also a board member of Public Investment Board, which is under National Development Planning. Could you just tell us a little bit of function of this?
Thanks a lot. But let me first of all just address some of the things that you raised. If you look at Auditor General's report, I don't know if you've seen that. Auditor General's report has the number of folks from stores, number of folks from procurement appearing. Some of them have been, coming down a little bit, but they are there. And we also sometimes have a problem where all the procurement folks don't really get, punished. Accountants get punished by the accountant general immediately, but the folks in procurement normally don't get that. So what we've done is we've gone to the Auditor General's office, and this week actually we are signing an MOU where every person mentioned in there will deal with them. We'll deal with them at the institute, because the institute has a very important right that if you are misbehaving, for argument's sake, and I can actually withdraw the practicing license and you get yourself fired. So those that are mentioning there, we've actually signed the Auditor General is very happy with us, and is going to help in making sure that we deal with folks that are in procurement that are doing wrong things, so that we can actually manage, our functions as an institute. I remember Zambia was the first country to have regulation of procurement in the whole world.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even in Africa, we've had almost 10 countries coming to Zambia. Our act that the government produced is almost the same one in almost all countries, because we are the first one to do that. So it's a very important process in ensuring that we even deal further with the folks that are creating problems even in our country. So now, coming back to your last part, is that, we did out of projects. And sometimes the planning team created a board of folks that are going to look at all these proposed projects. Sometimes we had, the president gave his, said certain projects must first wait. Those that were maybe 85% should be completed. So that our committee really looks at what we do, and we look at all the proposed projects and look at what is it going to do, what's the effect for Zambia, and how was it undertaken? Is it costly well? So we look at that, and once that is done, then we get that approved so that it can go on for the project. I think it is important board to make sure that all projects that are taking place are actually valuable and the right place. In Zambia, where are they? What are they contributing to the economy? So that's what we do for all projects in that regard. I think it was a very good idea by the ministry.
Excellent. Now, to those that may be joining us again right now, we are having on the roundtable discussion Mr. Mwelwa Darius, and he is, apart from being Zesco board chairperson and member of the Public Investment Board and president and council chairperson of Zambia Institute of Purchasing and Supply, you're also a lecturer.
Yes.
Give us that part of your life as well.
Oh, yeah. One of the greatest problems that we've had in this country is that we didn't have the right people in procurement. Okay. I don't know if you noticed that. We had accountants very well educated, but we had procurement folks who are not very educated. And their contribution, you find them in an office sitting in some corner alone, scared of whatever, So we needed to create folks with CIPS qualification and then folks with degrees. There was no degree in procurement.
Okay.
So as an institute, I actually was chair of that. At the institute, we created the first degree.
Oh.
Yeah, we're close to maybe 15 years, 17 years now, Okay. So the first degree in procurement. And it was actually done at Colbert University. And I was the first lecturer because I'm the first person who obtained a master's in procurement in this country. Okay. So I chaired that, and we trained a lot of procurement folks. Right now, the good thing that is happening now, those folks are in government, doing all the good things that institution is going on. And then after that, it was also developed literally everywhere else. UNZA did that. Later on, UNILAS is doing, almost all universities are doing that, and we certify what they are doing, and we provide the lecturers so that we produce more, folks at masters, folks at first degree in procurement, because procurement is a very important function of the development of any nation, So that's why I've been lecturing there. I'm also an engineer. I also conduct some engineering courses, even project management, because one of my masters is project management. So I teach that, and making sure that all qualifications, all exams they send to me, I check to make sure the questions are correct, so we have the right people in industry. So that is what I've been doing, and that's very critical. Yeah.
Great stuff. Now we come to the concluding part of the program, and I would like to ask you, because I know I've come upon information that you are actually an aspiring candidate for the Mambilima, constituency parliamentary seat. Mambilima is in Luapula province.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now, I want to find out, with all the accomplishments that you have, why is it necessary for you to want to get into parliament?
Wow. Okay, first of all, parliament is very, very important. Whatever it is that I've accomplished in my life, I was still born in Mambilima. Even when I've been going there the last 3-4 years, every time I see those problems. I see even what Mambilima has gone backwards. No development in Mambilima as much as it should be. You see, my grandfather was in Mambilima. My grandfather, let me just tell you, in those early days, Mr. Mwelwa had a lot of trucks, over 200 of those trucks right there. His house was 15 roomed, a long time ago, But Mambilima, when the folks came down there, the white people to Mambilima to establish in the 18th century, they established, the Mambilima mission there, and nothing really has happened. So I thought that I should just take back whatever it is that I've done to take back to my constitution, my constituency, and add to what is happening in Mambilima. Now, going to parliament, I told you right now that we are impacted by what the parliament did. The parliament created the act that is affecting us as me as a board chair because of what they did. Parliament is going to change because the funding is going to come from that person to ensure that even in my work that I've done, I can contribute at the national level, and see how it can be done. I can also tell you, in Mambilima, there's a bridge being done. I don't know if you heard of the bridge the road coming there from Mwenda to Congo. See, that's a PPP project. And that is actually a procurement process. And going beyond now, there's a lot of, people that bring in money and they begin to invest in this country. I was actually part of that process as a procurement process, you see. So we are bringing that road in Mambilima. It's going to make, that Mambilima in Mulundu's village is going to be one of the biggest, place where vehicles are going to cross into Congo. Maybe it can even reduce 500 kilometers or something like that. It's going to be one of the biggest. That is part of the things that I did. I can also tell you that, when I was in Zesco, I was actually in the committee, I was a technical committee chairperson. There was a discussion on what should happen on Kafiwe, Lwapula River, because it's flat, it's a bit flat. And you have, the production system really where it's falling down like that, okay? And Lwapula River has got few other places. But I told them, there's one in Mambilima, it's Mambilima Falls. So what's happening now, close to 230 megawatts, will be constructed in Mambilima. It will be the biggest, actually, even if you compare all the provinces, apart from Southern Province, it will be the biggest in Mambilima. Yeah. But who did that? Me. In that discussion. So it's going to come there. So I've been doing a lot of works in that regard. But even currently, at the moment, I was at Kashiwa Primary School, building classes there, because I was there. I was the first one who went to, in fact, in that class where I was the only one who went there. But I've seen that there's actually, how we can help Kashiwa Primary School. And I'm doing that. I've actually bought all the materials are in there. We also did, COVID materials. Because when I went there, the COVID problem in Mambilima. Yeah. So then I went and bought materials, like those foot affected, dispenser of materials. About 2,000 or so. We bought over 60 of them. And we distributed everywhere else, and we took, masks to all schools, and just to help, because that issue is going to affect even Wednesday. Okay? All the hospitals, we did that. We also did a lot of, we bought some, machines, because a lot of people on the Women's Day, sometimes get affected, because I know what schools are important. So we bought the materials for almost one school in each constituency, and we gave them for them to be making uniforms that they can take to the, to the people who may not have a lot of money in there, because it's a problem in Mambilima. So just them to be able to do that from all our award system, we actually did that. And we also even went further to get some money, about 60,000 of that. We've put it aside to pay every person in every school who has a problem in payment, so that you're able to meet them, and be able to, look, we use what is called Intuloyes Foundation. That's what we use. Okay. So even if I'm not picked, I still continue, because it's a service to the people where I come from, and it's very important that whatever you're doing, we elevate the numbers to our president to win, so that the project that you are doing can continue. Right. So we also contribute to funerals. We've got a truck there. We use some money just to help folks from Mambilima, so they are able to see the better ways of going. And in our submission to constituency, actually I wrote almost a 5-page document of what we need to do beyond this election in Mambilima. Yeah.
Great stuff. And I noted you said even if you're not picked, the work continues. It's to the benefit of Mambilima, yeah, after all. Now, how do you rate your chances? Do you see yourself being adopted? What sort of competition do you have right now?
Well, I think that there are three folks in there that are in there. Each one has its, the current minister who's done whatever he's done. The two of us who've done whatever you've done. So I think that it's a situation where we are very highly rated as well. The system that we have, a number of us have been rated. I don't think there's any person they've said get out. So I think that it can go to any one of the three of us, and if that goes to any one of us, we support them, because we are all at the end of the day PF members. And so our idea, even my campaign team have told me that if they pick Dr. Wanchinga, we support Dr. Wanchinga. If they pick the young lady Jean, we support Jean. If they pick me, they must support me, because at the end of the day is to make sure that Dr. Edgar Lungu's numbers go up, so that PF can continue with what it intends to do. For me, that's more critical than anything else.
Great stuff. And on that really exciting note, we have come to the end of the program. But before we end, do you have any closing remarks?
No, thank you. This is a very, very important discussion. And as an individual, I have personally done a lot of work for the country, and I think that we must continue pushing this country to a level where every person benefits from that. And I think that even at Secretariat, I also have some works that do, and some procurement. For instance, we are buying a new, PF offices. I chaired the evaluation committee in there. I did the report that went to MCC, for us to pick, a contractor to continue those particular works. And it's a very well written document because I did it. I'm the president of the procurement the last 25 years, you see. So we need to do all that even in our party. We need to do that in supporting what the president has done so that the development of Zambia, if you compare what has happened during the PF era, this country is different. And every person must see what is happening. Even my discussion with a number of institutions across Africa where they invite me, I talk about what Zambia has done, even in the procurement process, what we've done right now. Even the new law that we had, the one that have just been, changed right now. It's one of the first in Africa. Zambia was the first one to do that. So we've had a number of good things that Zambia has done, just people don't talk about. But we've done quite a good thing, even in procurement. We've done a good job. Even at Zesco, where I am, we've done a good job. So I want to thank even the leadership by giving me an opportunity to do such things. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. There you have it, our roundtable viewers. On Tuesday's edition of the Roundtable Talk, we featured Mr. Mwelwa Darius Chibwe, who we have now established is an aspiring candidate for Mambilimba constituency, among other titles that you have been able to catch this afternoon. And until Thursday, when we bring to you another exciting guest on the Roundtable Talk, my name is Nakiwe Simpungwe, your host. Good afternoon. It has been an exciting journey on the Roundtable Talk. We have featured a host of high-profile individuals such as cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries, directors, and a host of other high-profile guests. As we proceed with the Roundtable Talk, we would like to announce that it is now going mainstream. Yes, you heard me right. Going forward, the Roundtable Talk will be broadcast on Millennium TV, Channel 95 on the Topstar decoders, on YouTube, and as always on Smart Eagle's Facebook page. Join me every Thursday at 15:30 hours as I bring to you more and more exciting guests for more information, entertainment, and education. I'm Nakiwe Simpungwe, your host.